You're probably about to get wrecked. When I say you, I'm not talking to you specifically who's watching, but most people who are investing in crypto. Bitcoin right now is dipping below 94K. As I previously said in the video, expect more pain. I said time and time again, the economy is not yet at an ideal level macro wise to see a bull cycle, let alone an altcoin season. For the most part, people understood where I was coming from. Some disagreed and said, "You're wrong. We're going to see huge rips." Obviously, the market is tanking. The Fed has to cut interest rates. You have to shift from quantitative tightening to quantitative easing, essentially put the money printed back on and force people's hands, especially the wealthy, to shift to risk on assets. They do this by cutting interest rates, which when the interest rate no longer supersedes the yield of inflation, they have to, make their money, make more money, which is what the wealthy are very good at. And during times of this, they tend to move it to Bitcoin. Then when Bitcoin runs up from the massive shuttle of inflows, they take profits. They then buy Ethereum, Solana, large caps. Then they buy mid caps. And essentially, this is where altcoin season takes place. And then you buy micro caps and you just see a huge frenzy. So we're not far away from the bull cycle coming back. Like I said, we're just in this stage where the Fed has to make their next move. So think of this not like checkers, but like chess. One of my favorite games to play is actually chess. The Fed is essentially thinking 3 moves ahead, and retail investors are thinking 1 move ahead, right? They're seeing just a flat out price action, and they're correlating what they see to what they think will happen based solely on price and current sentiment. Whereas the Fed is looking at the macroeconomic level 3 moves ahead. What the current move not only does to the short term, but how it will benefit us in the economy in the long term. So when Trump put tariffs on countries to help our businesses win in terms of competition or at least flourish, which I showed you guys in his interview in his last video, that was all planned. It was all planned and it had a purpose for doing it. It wasn't just like he did it to try to cause conflict and drop the prices, although it looks like that's what's happening on the surface, right? Because if you have no knowledge of how the markets work, how interest rates work, what quantitative tightening is, quantitative easing, and how bad our economy was and is, and how the inflation is still high, although it's dropped a bit. If you don't know about any of these things, then you really don't know what's going on in crypto. Crypto is just another asset class like stocks. It's really no different in the sense that it can't flourish until the economy is strong enough to let it happen. Yes, the Bitcoin halving's a big catalyst, but again, if retail doesn't feel like they have spending power, buying power, then you're not going to see the economy get better. They need to leverage the economy to where consumers start spending. That's how GDP goes up, and that's how the money inflows go up. It's when retail and your everyday person feels like they have enough money to not just buy groceries, but to have discretionary spending. And the whales, when they start moving their money after this happens, it causes a frenzy. That's what we're going to see in due time. Again, the Fed meeting coming up in March. I hope we see an interest rate cut. I don't think we'll see one, but if Bitcoin's below 90K at that time, it's possible we might. And if he does, and we have tax season taking place, don't be surprised if we see a rally in April and May, or at least around May time. Selling may go away. Could be a preliminary altcoin season, could be a huge rally again that we saw last year. But I want to also say, getting wrecked, although is very bad, it doesn't seem as bad as it sounds when it's your first time. And just hear me out, okay? The only way you truly learn is by going through a painful situation, right? Whether it's losing a friendship, going through a breakup, getting fired at a job, going bankrupt, or something bad happening. In that moment, you hate it, you regret it, and you're like really upset, mad, depressed, even, right? But what happens in hindsight down the road? You're so thankful you went through that situation because you know of the pain you felt, and now you're in a position where you never want to get there again, and you had that experience to never go through it again. And the same happens with crypto. Oftentimes, investors never make it a one and done bull cycle where they achieve all their goals, because in the first bull cycle, oftentimes you're just learning, right? You make some money, sure, but most people actually lose their money. Most do, right? Over 90% lose money in general, but especially for a first bull cycle, most lose. Most go through hacks, most go through a crash, most go through flood where they fall for it. It happens to all of us, including me, right? I fell for massive flood years ago. But over time, you start adding tools to your tool belt. Over time, you start getting smarter. You start getting better. Hopefully, if you're moving towards progress, you're thinking along the lines of growth and not making the same mistake twice. When you start getting there and you start making improvements, all of a sudden the confidence comes back to you as an investor. And when that happens, that's where real money is made. But right now, what we all have in common, unless you're an insider or on Trump's close inner circle, we're all down on our money right now. All of us are. I think the majority of people right now are down on their money, except maybe the Bitcoin investors who bought it in the bear market. So what does this do for us? It strengthens us as investors, especially altcoin investors, because now it gives us the opportunity to either take this situation, see it as an opportunity to dollar cost average down, improve our averages, improve our chances of making profit and giving us a faster timetable to get out, or it gives us the opportunity to look at it as a huge failure and just cry about it and say, you know what, that's it for me. The market's done. Which avenue you take will ultimately decide which path you go on. But like I always say, in opportunities where it looks like it's very stressful and bad, there's always a silver lining, always an opportunity within it. You just got to search hard enough to find it. And when you do find it, that light bulb comes on in your head and you're like, wow, why didn't I do this before? So it's a beautiful thing when you start seeing the silver lining in bad situations and you start taking advantage of what looks like a failure or a setback and you turn that into a huge opportunity that in hindsight ends up being the best decision you ever made. That is where real growth takes place, not just in your portfolio, but your character, you as a person. When you start thinking differently, you start moving differently, you start acting differently, you start making moves differently, and ultimately you lead a much better path to getting successful. And I'll say it again, I said it in a previous video. There is no real success until you experience failure, because success should be something that's hard to get. And if it's something that people can do on the first try, then it's either not worth having, it's very easy to achieve, or you can even argue and say it's not real success. Success or being in the minority, top 1% or top 10, 20%, it requires significant pain and struggle to get there. Because if you do anything that very few, statistically speaking, can ever achieve, there's no way around struggling to achieve that goal. Because again, if the stats were in their favor and 80% achieve that goal, then the value of having that outcome is not even there because everyone can get it. Why do you think you want to be rich or people want to be rich? Because very few can do it. It brings what? Opportunity, freedom, time, peace. So you got to really think of things like this before you start analyzing and saying, okay, that's it, I'm done. A lot of people mentally are going through it right now. And if you don't have that support group, if you don't have the mental endurance to handle what's going on, if you don't have the awareness as to why the Fed is doing what they're doing, why Trump is doing what he's doing, then you're going to be freaking out and you're not going to be really helping yourself to flourish during this time. There's always opportunity. Again, the more aware you are as an investor, the more educated you are, the stronger you are, the more willed you are to achieve your goal no matter what. I guarantee you riches is around your corner. It's a guarantee. It's not even like a matter of if, it's a when. But you have to fail first. You have to go through pain first. And right now, we're in that painful stage. This is how it felt in the 2022 bear market when everyone thought it was over. And now we're seeing it happen again, a different pattern of events taking place this time. So it's a surprise, yes, but this could be the biggest thing for you to change your life and turn all this around. Very quick video, but I thought this was a message that a lot of you needed to hear, but probably didn't want to hear. This is a great time to really work on what's lacking in your portfolio, and especially with how you handle the market, whether it's your emotional strength whether it's your buying habits, buying high or buying low, whether it's your, tax event, investment strategy, short-term trading, long-term trading, or whether it's the type of picks you buy. So whatever it is, just work on it and think about progress, not perfection, and you'll be fine. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Really helps so much. That being said, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.